only the Minister of Commercial and not the High Commissioner from as Canada is a breadbasket sometimes to the world. In many parts, the prairies are certainly more sensitive to water and how water is used and so on, and they depend very much on the snows each year, as the farmers here depend on the rains in the monsoon season. So what I really liked about what Sanmeet said, and I'll talk just very, very briefly about what Canada is doing, because we are already engaged very much on the issue of water here in India. But what I really liked about your presentation is the idea of a simple solution, which I think is, simple is kind of best. I'm a simple girl, so let's go with those things first. And if you can tackle, as you said, the 50% problem first, that'll get you a long way there. In terms of things like drip irrigation, McCain's, one of Canada's largest food companies, has been operating here for many years. They spent 4 years doing agronomy studies across the country, introduced drip irrigation to the 1,500 contract farmers that they work with in Gujarat, and with tremendous success. So, and they have a full agronomy team that continues to work with the farmers to improve their skills and their procedures. So that's really exciting. I think about other examples of things that I've seen. I've been to Tabgar, south of Udaipur, and seen a watershed project there that was put up by IFCO, or IFCO's development arm, with DFID funding. And just amazing how that changed people's lives. So you can see the real impact of these things. ISTP Canada, which is the International Science and Technologies Partnerships arm, this is the funding agency that works with GITA on the Indian side to create a number of collaborations, has been working for many years to put together successful projects, and water is one of the areas. In fact, my distinguished colleague from Israel may or may not know that, in fact, Canada and Israel's Industrial R&D Foundation worked together with India last year, hosted a trilateral roundtable on water technologies in Toronto, which was very successful. And so we thank you for working together with us on that. Last week we had a workshop under our partnership development activities to discuss water technologies, and it brought 80 experts together from industry, academia, and government. And I think that combination of those three is really, really important, and we'll continue to kind of try and bring those three together in your institute and our collaborations with you as well. And they were exploring bilateral R&D collaboration on water technology solutions that address the specific issues affecting India. And I think that there were more than 25 Canadian delegates there. And why we think that's really important is not just because it's important here to India, but water is a global commons where it's important to us all, and how it's used around the world is also really important. Two other things. Tonight we've got Fleming College from my hometown of Peterborough, who's signing an MOU and a partnership agreement to do some training, and the Southern Ontario Water Consortium is also deeply involved in this. And we have Harjit Bajaj from CTBF as well. He's bringing a group together to get involved in the DMIC project. And so, there's a lot already happening. So I'm really, really, I'll leave it to the experts to take it forward. But suffice it to say that we're here to work together with you. We've got, I think, lots of projects on the way, and we're excited to collaborate further.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me to this meeting, and apologize that our ambassador could not come today. Water resources in Stockholm is just an example. Today you can drink the water, you can bath and swim within Stockholm, and you can eat the fish. It's very healthy. And so during these 50 years, we have learned in Sweden how to put policies, regulations, to develop the cooperation between the private sector and the public sector and the people in a competitive way to manage the water. And we are now sharing this experience also internationally. So we are very pleased with this launching of this foundation today, and we are looking forward to share our experience during the last 50 years with you here in India. We can learn from you, and you can learn from us. We see this as a collaboration in both directions. And we are of course having a lot of MOUs and all these things, but I think the time is not enough to go through the full agenda of the cooperation. But I welcome this. We are prepared to work on this. We have a water ambassador in the Swedish government following them today. We have the Stockholm Water Prize and all other going activities. I can also say that we have still a lot of problems to solve in Sweden also. We have the medical waste, for example, which is a new challenge coming up, and we have ideas how we can do that together with all the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Bernard Phillip, the Deputy High Commissioner from Australia. Just a couple of brief comments. First is that water is obviously a difficult issue for water management and agriculture taking up a huge percentage of our water consumption. We think we've learned some effective, painful lessons, particularly over the past couple of decades. A couple of things I think have worked for us. Market mechanisms have been an important part of the solution. Technology has been absolutely central. And also politics has been important. Like India, Australia has a federal system and states have the primary water power. And so state and federal governments have to work very hard at that aspect of it. In terms of our relationship with India, water, and particularly the Science and Technology Partnership, has really emerged as a key part of the bilateral relationship. It was announced by our Prime Ministers late last year, and so there's a lot of, I think, pretty exciting activity going underway, particularly on the research side. I would echo finally the comments that have been made by colleagues about the relationship with India really being one of partnership now. We, for example, signed an MOU last night with IoT Tele. It's in relation to this source modelling platform that Australia's developed. Really, over the past couple of decades, we've spent a couple of $100 million on it. It's primarily related to our largest river basin, Murray-Darling. But what's exciting about sharing this experience and technology with India is that I think we'll get an awful lot back in return, and I think so will other countries in terms of how we approach water management at that level. And finally, congratulations on the launch of the cluster.
His Excellency from Israel made very sharp observations, and I noted 5 points, and I'd like to respond to those 5 points in the minute given to me. One, he said about the tradition in India of treating water as available free, and the Israel tradition of looking about water something you have to pay for. Now, our all projects in this water cluster is based on the principle water is not free, you have to pay for it. And if my friend here says that now poor people, they cannot afford to pay, the very special aspect of our project is we first create a situation so that the poor who are the beneficiaries are empowered to earn enough to pay for it, like the Tanner's case. So this issue of India, no tradition of paying for water has been taken care of in our planning. 2. The second issue again raised was about the cost of the equipment. If you compromise on the cost of the equipment, then corresponding price you pay over maintenance, etc. Again, this concept of cost of ownership, that is built into our system, so that when the choice of the equipment is made, this aspect is taken care of, so that we don't adopt the policy of being penny wise and pound foolish. 3. The other aspect was about the he ended by saying about India is 1.2 billion, Israel is how many million? My answer is very simple. Why do you always look upon Israel in his position as Israel as a small country and India as a huge one? I look upon India as made up of thousands, if not millions, of Israel. So this idea that we must, this is because the size is big, I must go on inventing new things, not necessarily. Ultimately, this whole cluster, what are we developing? We are developing models of financing, models of management, models of technology, so that the size does not matter at all. The scaling of That has been built into our whole project. That's why multiple locations you saw. So this point is taken care of. He mentioned about the water management. Now that also, you also gave an example of somebody came, Excellency is mentioned in Gujarat, particularly the Chief Minister has been repeatedly to Israel, and many of these Israeli management principles have been absorbed by our people, and somebody referred to Geetam and others, that those aspects are taken care of. So our people are capable of learning the techniques developed and be successful elsewhere. So after all, the entire project is based on education, technology and innovation. Innovation and absorbing this culture. So this basic culture, Indians who want a water free, Indian cannot pay. If you cannot pay, we afford you to give you enough income. And it is not based on subsidy which is endless. So this aspect, so all the points he mentioned have been taken care of. That's why I wanted to take more than 1 minute.
Thank you. I want to ask, actually we finished our time. You said that I should say something at the end.
Absolutely.
Maybe I should.
Absolutely.
No, basic courtesy is that you came as our honored guest and because of your
I will be very
short.
short. Very short. Firstly, I want to remind you, Mr. Mittal, 14 years ago, 1999, several of us in the country from different walks of life, from different political parties, from civil society as you call it, organizations and teachers and so on, we gathered together here in Delhi, in 1999, saying that we want to improve the state of affairs for people in this country. And so for us, strangers to each other, to share our ideas of India and what should be done, we said time is short, 40 of us in room or 50 of here. Each of us within 1 or 2 minutes only would speak to an object the person would bring. That object would embody that person's feeling for India, and then if you want to say a few words, within the minute you will say them. Mr. Mittal brought a folded newspaper with some peanuts in it. And he said for him, India is, the people of India like the peanuts. They're simple, but they have a lot of energy in them, provided you give them a little nourishment. When he talked of water then, and it's not just water, it was education and other things. So this was his impression of India. Lots of simple people, lot of energy, just want a little help. And they will sprout and the country will flower. You recollect that?
Yes.
So I wanted to say there's a spirit here for finding the solutions, which is for the people ultimately. It's not for the profits of the corporations or for building the budget of the country. That's not what, if there is any charge. It is to enable the system to sustain itself so that the people can be nourished. The second point, of course, thank you in the third point. The second point, we were talking of several times about big solutions and, at the central level, and then you rightly mentioned from Australia, when it's a better situation and you learn how to have situations, dealt with that within the states themselves, and people do find it a challenge that in India we're talking to the center but the problem is in the states. So I think yes, we have to start working in the states, but more than that, the example that you gave very clearly shows, that there was no technology really involved in that. The innovation was in an arrangement between the people whereby each could get what they could afford to give. And the whole thing then works. There's no big technology. The innovation was in an arrangement amongst people that will benefit